Today is the 5th day of the September-October 1984 7-day retreat. A note has been handed to me. There are a number of people who are having or are getting colds in this hall, and it's okay to move during the sitting, to wipe your nose or put your hand in front of your mouth when you're coughing or sneezing. Because it has been proven experimentally that a little bit less spread of germs happens. Whether significantly less, I don't know. But anything we can do to help from spreading colds to one another, please let us do it. If you need a handkerchief, if it's buried deep in the pocket, it makes more of a racket to try to pull it out than if it's right here in the lap. We can find a way to do it as quietly as possible. And then when something needs to be done, like coughing, sneezing, or wiping, not to make a problem out of it. There's a koan that occurred to me to use today for a talk. The title is Umon's The Body Exposed to the Golden Wind. It's a very short one. It just tells of a monk who asked Umon, how is it when the tree withers and the leaves fall? And the response, body exposed in the golden wind. Another translation says, you embody the golden wind. Obviously, this dialogue took place in a time such as this. With millions of leaves turning, and this incredible spectacle of color and light. Soft breezes and strong breezes, single leaves or small groups of leaves or hosts of leaves, detaching, swirling around and eventually dropping to the ground. Until eventually that will not be a leaf left on most trees. Even though there are some trees who seem to hold on to the leaves all through the winter. They're dried and dead, crumpled up, almost without color, but still sticking there. We said, if I remember right, in the opening talk, that watching leaves detach seems such an effortless affair. floating and tumbling and twirling. It's like a dance. And when finally on the ground and one looks along this carpet of fallen leaves, it has a beauty of its own, the beauty of tapestry, with green threads sticking out in between. Leaves dropping off have no fear of dying, that's clear. Because you could give explanations for it, that they have no consciousness. But watching it, there is no apprehension at all of what the next moment will bring. And so it seems to be with animals. Animals live now. That's why it is such a joy to watch animals. Domestic ones, or even more so wild ones. Undomesticated ones, let's say, they're not all wild. Living a life of wholeness, as it were, being there, every hair on the fur of a cat or a dog or a skunk or fox, there in attention when it watches, when it stops in its tracks, as it were, and looks. So still. And every part of it completely still. And moving so relaxed, which is the relaxation of no concern about the next moment or the past moment. Yesterday, in using a koan to talk about falling or not falling under causation, the fox was mentioned. A fox, if one has ever had a chance to observe one, and it's very difficult because foxes are very shy. But there are these marvelous movies these days which have been taken by very patient people with lenses which go far away from where the photographer sits, so the animal does not feel threatened. And one can observe the life of many animals on television these days. A fox is not concerned about falling under causation or not ignoring causation. These are no concerns of a fox. A fox is hunting, sniffing, catching, killing, feeding, mating, producing little ones, which seem to have absolutely no cares at all. No mother who tells them, do this and don't do that. And yet they're eager to imitate and yet play. Certain instinctual survival responses to hide. I don't think because of an imagined death or danger, but because it's built into the system to hide, to be careful. But if a hawk strikes, picks up a little one, devours it or feeds it to its young, there seems to be a total meeting of that instantly. Which meant the life hadn't been lived up to this point in fear of that event, the way human beings do so much. Living in fear of possible happenings which may or may not occur. And when they occur, worn out, the mind is worn out from all the worry and fear, and not fresh to meet it. Death. One could interpret this koan as meaning that a monk afraid of death, concerned with dying, asks Uman, how is it like when the tree withers and all the leaves drop off? What is it like to die? Please tell me. You're a great master. You must know. And if you told me what it is like, maybe I could live with a little bit less apprehension. Or if you gave me something to believe in, then that would also assuage my fears. It's actually why we do create and invent stories of life after death, because that assuages our fear of dying to some extent, depending on where we think we'll end up. If we think we'll end up in hell or in a bad existence, we're not so comforted by the thought. But there's always the possibility of eventually getting into something better and, above all, continuing. I'll come back to that. If one interprets the koan that way, then Uman's response, body exposed to the autumn wind, or expose the body